And welcome back to Coast. I'm George Noory. First of all, let me bring in a regular Coast to Coast guest here, our Gary Patterson. Gary, of course, is a native Tennessean with a passion for rock and roll. As a published author, Patterson's works portray many fascinating events that help shape musical history. He is with us right now. Gary, how are you?
I'm doing great, George. How are you?
Good to have you with us. It's a very special night for all of us here at Coast to Coast. This has been an incredible story for so many years.
Oh, yes, it has.
And we've got history and legends here. Musician, keyboardist, filmmaker Ray Manzarek, born in Chicago, Illinois, studied in the Department of Cinematography at UCLA, where in 1965 he met another film student named Jim Morrison. Morrison said that he had written some songs with Ray, expressed an interest in hearing them. In 1965, he co-founded the legendary Doors. Ray's book, Light My Fire, My Life with the Doors, containing valuable information about lead singer Jim Morrison. Ray's with us this hour. Ray, thanks for weathering the weather.
Boy, it's sure bad here in Southern California. It's all the rain has broken loose to wash away the filth. And, what is that line that Robert De Niro does in Taxi Driver? Someday a good rain's going to come and wash away the scum and the filth. That good rain is happening right now.
And it won't stop.
And it was raining all like cats and dogs crazy yesterday, too, last night. So I first met Jim Morrison at the UCLA Film School, where we were studying the art of the cinema. He was from Florida, I was from Chicago, and we struck up a friendship. He was a very interesting guy, very intelligent, very literate, one of the best read guys I've ever met. A lot of fun to be with, a stoner ahead. We smoked marijuana together. We took LSD, for God's sake. And Jim was just a really good guy. Unfortunately, after graduation in 1965, unlike the Oliver Stone movie, Jim Morrison actually did graduate from UCLA. He got his bachelor's degree. I got my master's degree. I don't know why Oliver has him dropping out. I'm not sure, other than the fact that Oliver Stone dropped out of school and wanted Jim Morrison also to be a college dropout. That was kind of bitching, he's a dropout too, just like me. Well, he actually graduated. So, late May 1965, I thought I'd never see Jim again because he said he was going off to New York City. And I said, oh, darn, man. Okay, so we had just really struck up a good friendship. And see you around, man. If you're ever in New York, where can I look you up? He said, come to the Village. You'll find me. And I said, okay. I don't plan on going to the Village, seeing as how I just got to Los Angeles. So I'm sitting on the beach, middle of July, 1965. Dorothy Fujikawa, my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and has been my wife for 40 years
Wonderful.
now. 40 years. Got married on December 21st, 1967. So we just celebrated 40 years. What a great chick, man. I just love that girl. And she's my girl, and she's my babe, and she's my girlfriend, and I'm her boyfriend, and we're still together.
I love it.
She's working. I'm sitting on the beach having an existential crisis. What do I do with myself? I've got a master's degree from UCLA in cinematography. Who cares, Ray? This was before it meant something to go to UCLA. At the time, the prevailing thought in Hollywood was Doris Day, Rock Hudson movies. And I wanted to make movies like Fellini and Truffaut and Godard and those great filmmakers, Ingmar Bergman, those people from Europe, and Satyajit Ray from India, and Kurosawa and Mizoguchi from Japan. You film buffs will know who I'm talking about. But there was no chance of doing anything like that in Hollywood. So there I am on the beach. Sun is beginning to set. It's almost time for Dorothy to come home and bring home the bacon. And who comes walking down the beach, kicking up water with the sun setting behind him, wearing cutoffs, and like Krishna, the blue god from Indian mythology, he's kicking water up, and diamonds are coming up because the sun is backlighting it, and I'm seeing the diamonds coming off of his feet. And this guy's got long hair and is just really buff. It's like, 135 pounds, just about pretty thin, about 5'11", 6'11". He's got abs. He's looking good. And lo and behold, who is it other than Jim Morrison? My God, it's Jim. Hey, Jim, come on over here, man. He goes, hey, Ray. Comes over to me, and I said, my God, I thought you were going to New York. And he said, no, I decided to stay here. And I said, well, cool, man. What are you up to? And he said, well, nothing much. How about you? And I said, well, I'm not doing nothing. I got nothing going, man. Nobody wants, artistic filmmakers from film school, UCLA. They want Doris Day movies. And he said, yeah, I know what you're talking about. You're working on scripts? I said, I'm always working on a script, but it doesn't matter. I said, what about you, man? What are you doing? He said, well, to tell you the truth, I've been writing songs. And I thought, he knew I was a musician. I knew he was a poet. We discussed rock and roll. The British invasion was happening. The Beatles and the Stones and them and Animals and just all that great British rock and roll was in its heyday right then and there. And I said to him, God, sing me a song, man. And he said, I'm shy. I said, just, look, it's just you. And he said, I don't have a good voice. I said, you've got a voice. Your voice is fine. I heard you singing on stage with my brother's band, Rick and the Ravens. I was Screaming Ray Daniels, the blues shouter from Chicago. Rick and the Ravens, a surf band. We played at the Turkey Joint West. Jim Morrison would get on stage with us on Friday or Saturday, right down in Santa Monica here. And he would sing the Beat Jesus out of Louie Louie, his favorite song. Let's do Louie Louie. And he'd just sing it. I said, you sang Louie Louie, great. He said, yeah, sure. That's not my song. These are my words. I said, all right. I won't tell anybody. No one will know. Sing me a song. What do you got? And he said, how about this one? This is called Moonlight Drive. He squats down in the sand, digs his hands into the sand. He's got two fistfuls, and the rivulets are coming out between his fingers. And he closes his eyes and takes a deep breath. And then he sings in this haunted Chet Baker voice. He sings, let's swim to the moon. Let's climb through the tide. Penetrate the evening that the city sleeps to hide. And I think, and I'm going in my mind, playing Jimmy Smith, Ray Charles organ, just playing funky stuff. And he goes through the song, and I think, what a great lyric, great rock and roll lyric. And he's right on pitch, and he's right on time, and he's just holding it good and steady. And I just love the sound of his voice, that haunted, strange, psychedelic kind of voice. And at the end of the song, the very last word blows my mind, as they said back then, blows my mind. He sings, come on, baby, we're going down by the ocean side. Get real close, get real tight. Baby gonna drown tonight. And death had entered the equation.
Again, yeah.
The Doors and death. It was as if death then appeared and was just standing over my right shoulder, standing over Jim's right shoulder, just watching us, just listening. And I got a shiver. Baby gonna drown tonight. And I'd never heard lyrics like that for a pop song. And I said, that's incredible, man. I can play funky organ stuff and just Ray Charles, kind of Jimmy Smith organ behind that. I said, you have anything else? And he said, you like it? I said, you bet I like it, man. I love it. What else you got? And he said, well, I've got Summer's Almost Gone. I've got My Eyes Have Seen You. And I said, let me hear My Eyes Have Seen You. Talk about psychedelic. My eyes have seen you. You know, you don't think of your eyes looking. You look. We look at each other, but the eyes are actually the instruments that are looking. And he's saying, my eyes have seen you. Dun, 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 dun. And I'm thinking, dun, 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 dun. My eyes have seen you. Let them photograph your soul. Memorize your rallies on an endless roll. Dun, 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 ka, dun, ka, dun, dun. And I'm thinking Latin rock, man, that is so cool. What else? And he's got Summer's Almost Gone. It's like Bach. Morning found us calmly unaware. And I'm hearing da-da-do-dee-do-do-do-dee-do-do-do. All the stuff that I played in my limited classical music studies. And I said, this is fabulous. This is incredible. These songs are great, man. We got to get a rock and roll band together. We're going to make $1 million. He said, Ray, that's exactly what I had in mind. And that's how the Doors started, right then and right there on the beach in Venice, July 1965.
God, Ray, how did you come up with the name, The Doors?
That's what I said to him. I said, okay, we got a lead singer and we got a keyboard player. let's see, what are we going to call the band? There used to be a pizza place called Two Guys from Italy. We're not going to be Two Guys from Venice.
Right.
We can't do that. We can't do Ray and Jim. That that sounds like a folk rock duo or something. He said, no. The band is going to be called The Doors. And I said, what? That's the stupidest name I ever... Oh, wait a minute. You mean like the doors in your mind? Like the doors of perception? And Morrison said, exactly. And I said, too much, man. Psychedelic. There's the Beatles at the time doing She Loves You, yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
The four mop tops, the four lads, plucky four lads. They were as adorable and cute as all get out. This is before they had gotten psychedelic. Rolling Stones are doing Chicago blues, big deal. I'm from Chicago myself, and the Chicago blues. I grew up, I know how to do Chicago blues standing on my head. So there's the mop tops, the Chicago blues, and I said, Jim, what we're going to be is entirely different. We're going to make music that is psychedelic. And there was no such thing at the time. Psychedelic. We are going to probe the mysteries of existence on planet Earth. And that was it.
And
that was as simple as that.
Ray, a few weeks ago, producer Tom and I were driving down Sunset, and he pointed out a place and said, Whiskey A Go-Go. Doors used to play there. And I said, come on, there? And he said, yeah. That's almost where you started there as a group.
Hell, we played worse than that, man. Whiskey A Go-Go was the big time. Whiskey A Go-Go in the summer of 1966 was Mecca. That was the place for rock and roll, probably in America.
And you were the house band there, weren't you?
We became the house band. We were playing down the street at a place called the London Fog, a little crap hole. Had to play 4 or 5 sets a night, and we got $10 per man per night. $5 during the week, $10 on the weekends. The guy still owes us $90. Jesse James was the owner's name. Great guy. But he said, listen, I'll pay you when I get a chance. All right, fine, man. So we're playing there. We're working out the songs. We've got to play and play and play and play. There's nobody in the club. It doesn't matter what the heck we do. Sometimes a couple of sailors would come in looking for prostitutes. These guys in their whites at the time, because Vietnam is going on.
Of course,
Vietnam's because these guys are dressed in their outfits. Sailors would leave. 10 minutes later, maybe 2 prostitutes come in. It's like looking for Johns. There are no Johns. They leave. 3 businessmen come in 15 minutes later. They stay for a song, look around, nothing's happening, they leave. So no one could ever quite connect with each other. So we're just playing away. And we had lovely Rhonda Lane, go-go girl as she was billed, dancing up in a cage. I don't know how the poor thing ever danced to our songs. We just weren't playing the frug or the pony or any of those things you could do, the shimmy shake to. So we're working the songs out. We got lots of time to kill. Light My Fire just gets longer and longer. The end starts off as a 2.5, 3-minute love song to Jim's original girlfriend from Florida, Mary Werbelow, who came out with him from Florida to Los Angeles. They then broke up, and he wrote a goodbye song. This is the end, beautiful friend, the end of laughter and soft lies, the end of nights we tried to, what? To die. And death enters the equation one more time. That song then gets expanded to become, from a 2.5, 3-minute song to become 11 minutes, with Jim improvising lyrics and Robby and I improvising the music and John improvising the beat. And we just played and played. Finally, we get fired from the club. Jesse James says, look, no one's coming in here. Well, that's for sure, man. That's not our fault. He said, I got to get a new band. That week, we think, oh, God, this is our last chance on the Sunset Strip. Who comes walking in the door but Ronnie Herron, now Ronnie Mellon, the girl who was the booker at the Whiskey A Go-Go. Now, she takes one look at Jim and may or may not. She says, I did not fall in love with him. Okay, she didn't fall in love with him. I say she did, but she can always answer for herself, because she doesn't want her daughter to know that she was in love with Jim Morrison. But for God's sake, she practically discovered the Doors. She then says, how would you guys like to be the house band at the Vatican, at St. Peter's Cathedral, at Mecca? How would you like to be the house band at the Whiskey A Go-Go? And of course, we jumped at the opportunity. We started next week, and opening act is the Doors, and then whoever is the headliner. Next set, opening act is the Doors and the headliner. So we had to do 2 sets a night at the Whiskey A Go-Go, and we were making like union. It was union pay, man. $135 a week.
You were
rich. We are rich because we were making $9 or $10 on the weekends and $5 during the week at the London Fog. My God, we can actually pay the rent and go out and eat. Dorothy can even stop working the stupid job she had cleaning computer tape on those big fat tapes they used to have in the old days. So that's how we got to play the Whiskey A Go-Go. And the very first weekend we played the Whiskey A Go-Go, the first week's engagement, Van Morrison and them. Got to be friends with them, and at the last night we jammed together, Jim Morrison and Van Morrison singing Gloria on stage together while the Doors and them all played
What
the music.
electricity.
What an incredible time that was, man. Unbelievable.
We're going to take a break in just a second here, Ray. We'll continue talking. Of course, Gary and I are sitting back here in awe just listening to you. What was the big hit, the big break for the Doors?
Light My Fire. Light My Fire was the number one song in America. 2 years from the time Jim and I said, let's get a rock and roll band together. What are you going to call it? We're going to call it The Doors. July of 1965, July of 1967, the Summer of Love. Light My Fire becomes the number one song in America.
And you just exploded after that.
That was it, man. It was just the doors of perception were cleansed and open wide.
Well, stick around. Stay with us. Ray's book, by the way. Can you still get this book, Light My Fire? Is it still out there?
Is it in a bookstore, you mean?
I bet Amazon has it.
Amazon's got it, sure, yeah.
It's a great story. Stay with us. Ray Manzarek with us, Gary Patterson a little bit later on. Robby Krieger will join us as well as we talk about the Doors and the life, the death, maybe, of Jim Morrison. I'm George Noory. Back in a moment on Coast to Coast AM.
Riders on the storm. Into this house we're born. Into this world we're thrown. Like a dog without a bone and packed around alone. Riders on the storm. There's a killer on the road. His brain is squirming like a toad. Take a long holiday. Let your children play. If you give this man a ride, sweet family will die. Killer on the road. Yeah.
From the City of Angels, Premier Radio Networks presents Coast to Coast AM with George Noory.
Now, those are some of the classics of music history that you're listening to, and you will throughout the night. Our guest this hour, Ray Manzarek, one of the Doors. Gary Patterson's with us as well, and we'll be back in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast. I'm George Noory. We're talking about the Doors, the life, the death of Jim Morrison, Ray Manzarek. Robby Krieger's with us now. Gary Patterson on the phone. Hey, Gary, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just in awe with these guys.
Hey, let me tell you, I mean, Ray is a master storyteller. I mean, I'm sure the listeners as well as you and myself, George, we're just fascinated with this. It's great stuff.
And Robby's joining us right now, too, as well. Gary, so say hello to him.
Hey, Rob, how are you doing?
Hey, Gary. You know, those aren't stories. They're the truth. That's why Ray tells it so good.
He knows it is great.
Robbie, of course, the legendary guitarist for the Doors.
Robby is a guy who wrote "Light My Fire." You're asking me what was the song that broke the band, and it was "Light My Fire" in the summer of 1967, the summer of love. 2 years, virtually to the day, after Jim and I sat on the beach, and he sang the Moonlight Drive and whatnot to me. But Robby Krieger is the guy who wrote the song "Light My Fire." If it hadn't been for Robby Krieger, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about it right now.
Robbie, how did that come to you, the song?
Oh, boy. I wish I knew. I'd write another one. You know?
You have, man. I mean, Robbie's written "Love Me 2 Times," for God's sake. Robbie wrote "Love Her Madly." I mean, Robbie's a hit machine.
Touch Me?
Touch Me.
Yeah.
Touch It. Touch Me.
Well, you know what? When at first, you know, Jim was writing the songs. He was our songwriter.
Yeah.
You know, nobody else had written any songs. But we realized we didn't have enough originals, and so Jim says, "Well, you know, you guys go ahead and try and write something." So I went home. And I said, okay, I'm going to write something that's going to be as good as Jim's stuff. This has got to be pretty heavy duty, you know. So I said, okay, I'll do something about the 4 elements: earth, air, fire, or water. So I picked fire because, you know, I always liked the song "Play with Fire" by the Stones. So I said, okay, I'll write something about fire. And that's how it started. And it took me about a couple of weeks maybe to come up with the basis of the song. And I brought it into the guys, and they loved it. And we all worked it out. And Ray came up with that brilliant, you know, introduction part. And John came up with the beat, the kind of a Latin thing. You know, I had more visions of more of a kind of a Hey Joe kind of a beat for it. But, you know, that was the good thing about the Doors, is we all put our own 2 cents in, and especially Jim, you know, I would always tell him how I heard the song, and he'd always change it, but it would always be better.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely. As the group grew, and I mean, you guys had, you know, you had almost that instant success once you got going. When did you two start seeing the, I guess, the lifestyle change of Jim Morrison, going from, you know, the college kid to someone who probably was beginning to become self-destructive?
Well, that never changed. He was like that from the beginning.
Was he really?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, you know, Jim said that they used to have to carry him home in college from parties and stuff, you know, and, you know, he always had that in him, I think. You know, it just kind of came out more, I think, as time went on. And, you know, when Jim got power, as Billy James would say. Billy James was the guy who signed us to Columbia Records before our record deal with Elektra. Of course, nothing ever happened with it, but he said that, boy, if Jim Morrison ever gets power, look out.
Yeah, absolutely. The movie, and, you know, I didn't think the movie was particularly a good movie. It was kind of neat to watch just because I knew I was going to be talking to you two, but I don't think it really depicted what really happened. It probably skimmed things. But I did notice that when Kilmer was playing the Morrison role, the two who played you two would tend to look at each other on stage, where this wiped out Jim Morrison character was doing whatever he did. Did those things happen where you two kind of like rolled your eyes to each other?
Oh, yeah, that happened. That happened many times, you know, but, you know, more often than that would happen. I mean, it was like magic on stage, you know. I mean, you know, Jim might do something weird, and he always did, but, you know, and we never knew what he was going to do, and that was the fun part of it. You know, so we would go off on a trip every night, and, you know, sometimes it would be a bum trip.
Yeah.
But most of the time it was great fun, and it was sort of like jazz, you know. It was like improvisation.
Ray, did you ever get to the point where you two thought, oh no, we're not going to get on, we're not going to make this concert tonight with him?
Well, there was Miami. That was one that we didn't quite complete. But no, Jim was always there. He always. Of course, his reputation is the weirdest, farthest out guy ever. How did you ever follow him, Ray? Where he went off, and how did you... Well, it was all an improvisation. We're all jazz musicians. The whole point of it was to create a ceremony to release the Dionysian impulse in man, to have a ceremony of joy and celebration, but also a sort of a seance to palliate the dead, as Jim said. So there was madness and chaos, but there was also joy and spontaneity and love and excitement. It was an age that we can't even understand now. And Oliver Stone has done Jim Morrison a great disservice by turning him into the caricature, concentrating on the drunken Jim Morrison. Actually, there was a poetic Jim Morrison who was very intelligent, very artistic, very poetic. Hey, poets drink, man. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the bar. You know, if you don't. Listen, Jim's going to do some weird stuff on stage. Is it so weird you can't handle it, Robby Krieger? I don't think so. Ray, what about you? Are you man enough to handle it? Well, you're damn right I am, man. If you can't handle it, get off the stage. Get out of here. You don't belong in this band. If it's too intense for you, go somewhere else.
Was he a good person?
Of course he was, man. Well, there were two of them. Jim was a great guy. Jimbo was not so good, but Jimbo is the demon that came out of that bottle of rum. You know, they say there's a demon in the bottle. What does that mean, man? There's another personality that'll take over. So when he was intoxicated, when he was drunk, certainly when he was stoned, he was very cool. It was the alcohol. He had a genetic predisposition to alcoholism, and that's ultimately what did Jim Morrison in. It was the alcohol.
They called him the Lizard King.
He called himself the Lizard King. He said, I am the Lizard King. I can do anything. But it's a character. It's not Jim's. He's the self-proclaimed Lizard King. You know what? That works with Elvis Presley is the king.
The king.
What's Michael Jackson? The king of the king of pop. And Jim Morrison, the Lizard King. Well, you know what that did? That brought out that whole subconscious... what's the thing that the snakes do? The motion?
Recoil.
Well, it's like the inner brain is the snake brain.
It's the lizard, the limbic, something like that.
All that is buried deep within, and he, we wanted to tap into that. And that is what rock and roll taps into.
Well, and you're right, Ray, because in the movie it showed it like it was a drunken, stoned Jim Morrison who didn't know what he was doing on stage. Wasn't that a shaman dance he was doing?
Of course, man. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, he was intoxicated with the moment. He wasn't a drunk. I don't think people today, and certainly Oliver Stone, didn't understand LSD. LSD is a hallucinogenic substance that opens the doors of perception. A shaman is a guy who steps through that doors of perception and is probably basically a slightly cracked individual who dwells here and there, dwells in the world of the demons and the spirits. And Morrison is a 20th century shaman is what he was. We were the Electric Shamans band. We were the ones who were driving him and pushing him and urging him on to go further and further and further. And if you can't handle it, leave the auditorium. If you don't like it, get off the stage. You know, that was my attitude. I loved it, man. I thought it was the most adventuresome thing, psychic adventure that we'd ever been through.
How long was the run? The run
1965 to July 3rd, 1971. He died in Paris on July 3rd, just before the 4th of July, 1971.
Yeah, it was short, but it felt like a lifetime.
Man, was it intense. We got a lot of albums out of it. We got 6 great albums out of it, so 6 studio albums, and then we got some of Jim's poetry that Robby and I and John later put together as an American prayer. Jim read a whole bunch of his poetry, interestingly, on his last birthday on the planet, December 8th, 1970. Gave himself a birthday present, went into the recording studio, and just started reading his poetry, almost as if he had a premonition.
Was he obsessed with death?
That's what they always ask. What does that mean? Oh, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Hey, I'm obsessed with death. I don't want to die. I don't know. Robby, how do you feel about it?
I am. He was
I don't want to go.
interested in death. It fascinated him. You know, he wasn't obsessed with it. You know, he just really wanted to know what happens, you know, after you die.
When you die, exactly.
Does anything happen? I don't know. You don't really find out until you die.
And nobody ever comes back to tell us. Houdini never came back
That's
on
right.
Halloween
He was
to tell us.
supposed to. He was supposed
He was supposed to, but he never did. Jim, I'm going to pick Jim up. This was about 2 years before he died. Going to pick him up, go upstairs to his apartment. He's sitting there. He's either doing an interview or there's some chick there. I don't know who it was. I walk in the door and Jim, I said, come on, man, we got to get going. We were recording studio off to the airport. I don't know what. Come on, man, let's get going. And he says to me, Ray, just a second. What do you think happens when you die? I said, not now, man. Come on. We got music. We got work to do. We'll die later. You know, it's not time for dying.
Yep, that's a question, Ray, we deal with on this program all
Death.
the time.
All right, what happens? There is
People
none. I said to
call
him,
in.
here's what I said to him. I said, Jim, there is no death. There's a transference of energy. We occupy these physical forms.
You got
the
it.
energy that is us is the energy that is God, that is all things. LSD will show you this. This is what LSD showed me. Opened the doors of perception, opened my heart. I'm a born-again person.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus said, you must be born again. I am born again. I am a born again. I'm not a born-again Christian, although he's my buddy. God knows, and I love Buddha, and I love Moses, Mohammed, Jesus, Buddha. Like Gandhi said, I am a Christian, I am a Jew, I am a Muslim, I am a Hindu, and so are all of you.
Yeah.
So it's the energy. You enter back into the energy, and I believe that energy is everything that permeates the entire universe. We are that energy. That energy in Chinese is qi. If you know about CHI, qi, that energy. The yin-yang symbol is the constant revolution of the next step after qi.
Yeah, but the trick is, though, can you remember what happened last time so you can, you know, do something this time that'll...
I can't.
No, I mean, nobody can. That's the problem right there, isn't it? You know, I mean, there was one guy who could really say, okay, my last lifetime I was such and such, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing today. Although it makes perfect sense to say, okay, Mozart must have been a musician when he was in his last life, because at the age of 5 he was writing
He knew what to do,
symphonies.
yeah.
Yeah,
He was
I mean,
genius.
So it's the only explanation that I can think of, is that he must have been into it in his last lifetime. But, you know, the problem is you can't remember, so what good is it?
Did the three of you socialize a lot after the concerts, after the record tapings and recordings?
No,
Did
you went
just
home,
all
man.
go
You were
home?
exhausted.
Did
you
your own
know,
life.
and, hey, let's go out and party. We just played. Look, you go on stage, you leave everything on the stage. You leave it all on the football field, on the basketball
Done.
court. You leave it on the stage,
But
man.
not
It's
Jim. Not Jim.
hard work. You're right, man. Jim would keep on going.
He wanted to party, you know, after the gig, after recording, you know, and that's when he would get in trouble, because, you know, we were too tired to go hang out with him, so he'd have to hang out with Freddie.
Oh, God, ne'er-do-wells, people like that. Freddie, good Lord, Freddie said, he's my friend. We go out to the ranch, and I let him shoot my guns. No gun shooting. Don't let Jim shoot guns out at the ranch. Jimbo would come out, and I'm going to shoot me some guns. No guns, please. Yeah, Robby is actually absolutely right. Morrison loved being on stage so much, he never wanted it to end.
It never shut off for him.
That's why the whole idea of Jim in Paris had gone to Paris to start another rock and roll band is like, it's absurd. There's nobody that could follow him, nobody that could work with him. We're the only ones that could do it, because we had done it from the beginning. And Jim loved being on stage. He didn't want to quit rock and roll. He was on a vacation. He needed a break, that's for sure. He needed to get away from his
Jim's
drinking
whole
buddies
life
and
was
the
on
groupies.
stage, you know. That's what he loved to do, and there's no way he would have quit doing that and gone to Africa. He might have gone to Africa, but he would still be on stage.
Yeah.
What would you two say today to someone like a Britney Spears, who seems to be just in total destruction of her own life? And
Take LSD.
Yeah. Open the doors of perception.
the
Right.
doors.
You want a thrill? You're good point, Robby. You want a thrill. You know, I'm just kind of bored. You know, I just can't get enough of a thrill. Drop acid. You'll find out.
Did you have paparazzi chasing you all over the place
Not like
in those
that.
days?
No.
No, it wasn't like that.
No, we didn't have. That's that kind of That's that Michael Jackson or pop star. The Beatles had
Yeah,
that.
I mean, we were really underground. The Doors were underground
That's
at
true.
the time. We were never like the Beatles or Britney Spears, and that was good, a good thing.
But what a huge following. Ray, you first. Where were you when you received word that Jim had died?
I was home having breakfast. And Bill Siddons called and said, I just got notice that Jim Morrison is dead. And I said, Jim Morrison had died. He died in a car crash. He fell out of a window. We've heard Jim Morrison. Paul is dead. Is Paul dead too? Paul's dead. And, Jimi Hendrix was dead. Janis Joplin was dead. So death was in the air. Death was floating around. Death was hovering. Soldiers, man, how many American soldiers and sailors and Marines died in Vietnam? Yes. How many Vietnamese? The planet was hovering with dead souls. Death was on everybody's mind at that time. And when I heard he was dead, I said, I don't believe it, And Bill said, no, it's true. I think it's true. I said, well, go to Paris and check it out. He said, I got a flight booked. I said, fine, man, go and just go to Paris and make sure this time, Bill. What about you, Robby?
Similar story for me. I was home and I also didn't really believe it. I didn't want to believe it. But somehow I did believe it, because it seemed kind of serious this time. And so we did tell our manager, Bill Siddons, to go over to Paris and make sure, see what happened, and let's find out the details, and hopefully it's all a lie.
Unfortunately, it was the truth. And Siddons said, called me about 2-3 days later and said, well, we buried him in, he couldn't pronounce the name, but it's Père Lachaise Cemetery in Paris.
Right.
We buried him in Paris. And what a great cemetery. Edith Piaf is there, the French singer, Chopin is there, Oscar Wilde is there, all kinds of artists and poets and whatnot. Molière is there.
And Jim loved that place. He, in fact, he said he wanted to be buried there, right?
Good Lord, huh? How about that? Yeah, right. It's a very picturesque, lovely place. If you're in Paris, the summertime, you want to be buried there? Robbie's going to be buried there too.
Well, I'm going to be cremated.
I'm going to be composted. I want to be composted and used for fertilizer for the tomato plants or the fruit trees.
Yeah, but they'll probably grow 70 feet tall.
Right? Too tall, right? Well, spread it around. Spread the ashes around. So then Siddons says, we buried him, and I said, how did he look? He said, I don't know. I said, what do you mean you don't know? I said, how did he die? He said, I don't know. It's all in French. I don't know. Well, how did he look? Was he hit by a truck or something? He said, no, nothing like that. He just died. I said, well, how did he look? He said, I don't know. I never saw the body. There was a sealed coffin. And I said, you put a sealed coffin in the ground? You're telling me that Jim Morrison is... He said, no, Jim's in there. Jim's in there. Pam was all crying and weeping. And I know he was in there. I said, how do you know? You're supposed to go and see the body.
See the body. Yeah.
I'm the manager. I'm Jim Morrison's manager. Let me see Jim Morrison. And that's the story.
Well, with that, let's take this break, and we'll be right back on Coast to Coast AM.
Talk with George Noory. Call the Wildcard line at area code 818-501-4109. The first-time caller line is area code 818-501-4721. To talk to George toll-free from east of the Rockies, call 1-800-825-5033. West of the Rockies, toll-free at 1-800-618-8255. International callers may reach George Noory by calling your in-country Sprint access number, pressing option 5, and dialing toll-free 800-893-0903. From the City of Angels, this is Coast to Coast AM with George Noory.
And of course, the story surrounding the death of Jim Morrison, widespread. So many different stories, myths, conspiracy stories. We'll talk about a few of them with Robby, Krieger, Ray Manzarek, Gary Patterson with us. Gary will be with us throughout the night tonight. And we're also going to open up the phone lines a little earlier, too, and intersperse you along with Ray and Robby as well. Ray's going to be with us for 1.5 hour more. Then he's got to get rolling here, and then Robby will stick around for a bit. I'm George Noory. Back in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. And jump in anytime you want here, Gary. We're with Robby, Krieger, Ray Manzarek. So there was no autopsy performed. Apparently, French law says that, the medical examiner claimed to have found no evidence of foul play, and nobody really saw the body, at least the people that you felt comfortable with. Ray, at this point now, I mean, these stories about Jim Morrison still alive, I mean, are they preposterous stories?
Yes. Well, you know what it is? It's the Dionysian impulse. Morrison represents a modern incarnation, 20th century version of the Greek god Dionysus, who was the dying and resurrecting god. He was the god of the green earth, the god of wildness, the god of sexuality, the god of the fecund powers of the earth, the green growth rising again in the springtime. That's what Jim Morrison is, a dying and resurrecting god. Except he's not a god, he's just a guy. But that impulse, and the Greek mythology was human impulses applied to what they called the gods, but they were all human impulses, and it's an impulse to want that dying, resurrecting, that thing. He's not dead. No, he staged his own death to get away from all the problems of rock and roll, and he just wanted to be a poet and be free and just be left alone so he could write his poetry. Well,
sounds good, Ray.
Doesn't it?
Sounds good.
Yeah, well, that's if you want to believe it, God bless. I'm not gonna say.
People want him to be alive. They don't want to think that it's over. He's 27 years old.
Died in a bathtub.
Gone, and same with Elvis. They always think Elvis is still alive.
Tupac Shakur's still alive.
I still hear Kennedy's still alive, and he's in a vegetative state.
Yeah.
Remember that?
That's right. That's right. He'll come through one day. Well, people want to believe that. I mean, it's like you don't want your heroes to die. My God, Janis and Jimmy and Tupac and Jim Morrison. Kurt Cobain, I guess everybody knows he's dead. Stuck the gun in his mouth and pulled the trigger. Yeah. A shotgun. No denying that. But Jim with that sealed coffin, man, it wasn't for that sealed coffin, I think everything would, yay, he's gone. God rest his soul.
So why don't they exhume the coffin and do a little DNA test?
Only his mother and father can do that.
They can only do that.
Only his parents. We can't do that.
And the parents still alive?
Yeah, the Admiral is still alive.
Yeah, father.
Yeah, his Clara has passed on.
Well, I still get calls every once in a while. As a matter of fact, there's some guy on the West Coast who claims to be Jim Morrison. I mean, they're all over the place.
Just one?
How many are out there, Gary?
Well, I tell you, I've heard there's one in Louisiana. I heard there's one in southern Florida. And I know that Ray's probably heard plenty of stories about people claiming to be Morrison. I'd like him to tell the story about getting a message from the outback in Australia.
Right.
Tell that story.
What happened?
Well, Ray, this is a great story. I get a letter from Australia. I know, you can just imagine the accent. I know where Jim Morrison is, Ray. He's in the outback. He's got a broken leg, mate. Send me $1,500 and I'll go and get him. Well, go get him, man. Send me 15.
And of course, you FedExed the check to
Oh,
him
immediately, yeah. And, and that guy just downed it all on Foster's Lager. Have a beer. Have a beer.
Well, don't you think that one of the problems, and it's not really a problem, but it's the idea of need to believe, that when Jim died and Pamela leased the grave for 30 years, and the idea was that somewhere on July 7th or July 8th, that the body would be exhumed originally because when the lease ran out. I know that one of the most important things is when the wall...
She was just cheap, that's all.
Yeah, and when the wall came down in the 1990s, you had Eastern Europeans who could finally make a journey to Paris and visit Morrison's grave, and the riots broke out, and the graffiti on the graves. The French were not very intent on letting him stay for a while, and I was just curious. You'd think the idea of that 30-year lease being up and the coffin being brought up and maybe Jim starting the L.A. tour, in 2001, whatever, right? Do you think that might have been something that people wanted some closure by finally opening the grave and determining if he was there?
That's disgusting, man.
Yeah,
you know what? That's absolutely disgusting. I'm not even going to bother answering a question of would bring the coffin
there was
out of the grave, open the coffin, and there's the rotted, faded body. Well, yuck. That's disgusting.
It
Look,
is.
if the guy, first of all, if the guy staged his own death, leave him alone. Obviously he doesn't want to be bothered. He hasn't called me in 35 years.
And I think
don't
he
know. Has
would
he talked to you, Robbie? I have.
No.
You see?
I think he would have called one of you.
Somebody, or we'd have heard about some guy who's remarkably like Jim Morrison on stage in Africa in a little club in Mombasa. But it's ridiculous. He's gone.
There was talk of moving Jim the casket because the lease had run out, and then somebody in the government in Paris finally realized that Jim Morrison is the number 3 tourist attraction in Paris.
They want him there.
Oh yeah, he's not going anywhere. Believe me.
Right, moment, please. No, I don't think we will move him because there is the Mona Lisa, Eiffel Tower, the Pompidou Museum, and the Jim Morrison, the Jim. So Jim, I think, is number 4. So, my God, for all the young people, we cannot move him. We will keep him. We want to keep him. And the Admiral and Mrs. Admiral said that they would take care of the graffiti, the cleanup. So there's like a weekly cleanup. No touching. Don't leave things. But is that a joint? Don't put a joint there. No, don't pour the wine. Come on.
And in Corson, she died 3 years later, didn't she?
1 year later, I think, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Maybe 2. Yeah, a couple
I'm
years.
not at liberty on this,
later.
Robbie. I'm not at liberty on this show
Which was-
to discuss Pamela Curson's death. Only that she was Jim Morrison's number 1 love. He always loved her.
Right.
She was a beautiful person,
And leave it like
a good
that.
person, and they were a rock and roll Romeo and Juliet.
They were.
Romeo and Juliet of rock and roll, Jim Morrison and Pam Morrison. They were beautiful people. She loved him dearly, and he loved her madly.
Well said. And enough said of that.
Yeah.
And then he dies, and the myth continues. And so we can at least put that to an end tonight, that 2 of the members of the Doors say he's gone.
Wait a minute. I'm just saying I haven't
There
talked
is a
to
chance.
Jim Morrison in 35 years, man, but he's dead and gone. Of
He's
course,
gone.
Come on.
Did you have doubts for a while?
Not the lifestyle he was living. No, I can't say that I had doubts when Siddons said we buried a sealed coffin. I thought, oh God, no, a sealed coffin. But I thought that Jim was living, was over the edge, had gone over the edge. Actually, it was Jimbo who had gone over
Abusing himself all the time.
Although, I always thought that he'd be one of those guys who, drinks 2 bottles of whiskey a day and then lives till 85.
Yeah.
But
a George Burns cigar type.
Yeah, but that didn't happen.
Well, there was a lot of them dying at 27. Rock and rollers die at 27.
It's amazing. Gary, remember that? You've told us about that, this incredible age?
Yeah, it starts at Robert Johnson and works his way up through Kurt Cobain. I'm sure there's some after that, but there's at least 16 major rockers who died at the age of 27.
And by the way, Heath Ledger, who just died, was 28. He came. He just passed it.
Yeah. He came close. I think Ray tells a great story about the numerology behind 27.
Well, 7 and 2 adds up to a 9. Numerologically, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's all the numbers there are. 10 is a 1. 11 is a 2. 12. So you can take your birthday and reduce it all, your date, the day, the year, all of that month, you reduce it all down to a single digit. And 7 and 2, 2 and 7 is 9, and that's it. That's the end number. That is the end point. That's the end or a new beginning. And all of these people were not able to make a new beginning. They were genius artists, young people. 27 is young. You're a young person.
That's
when you're
a baby.
Young. You're not. I don't. You don't even think of yourself as an adult. I didn't think of myself as an adult at 27. You're kids. You still think you're a kid. These people were not able to make that leap into the next go around numerologically, in which they begin to accept responsibility for their own actions.
Why did you two continue to move on? How come this didn't affect you two?
It did, but we were afraid to die. He wasn't.
You had some more
I guess we were
You
lucky.
had
We were
control.
lucky. We were lucky. Now, Jim, Jim was a genius, and he was the greatest guy in the world, but he had problems. He was cracked, man. He had
The shaman.
Yeah, it wasn't like he didn't just live every day like you and I, where you can kind of relax and hang out, and think about nothing for a while.
Right.
24 hours his mind was going.
Constantly.
What happens when you die?
And the intensity with which he lived his life, the experiences were so intense for him. On stage it was intense. Off stage it was intensity, and it was like, Jim, calm down. Can you relax? I can't relax, man. You never know when this could be your last performance. You never know when this could be your last day on Earth. So you got to live it full of intensity. And he crammed into those 27 years. I can't be too sorry, because he was like 67 years old when he died. He had lived an intense, happy, full, robust life.
And you can't say that about everybody.
You can't say that about me and Robby. We're just going along here, Hey, we're still married. Robby, what is this? You have 38?
Pretty close to that.
37, 38 years of marriage?
Well, 1973.
Oh, I thought you got married right after Dorothy and I did. Dorothy and I got married in 67, so we just celebrated our 40th.
Do you two still play together as writers in the Storm now?
We do.
Go around all over the country, or just in L.A.?
All over the world. We're going to Mexico in 2 weeks from now for a tour of Mexico and South America.
Then we're going to go to South America.
So you don't stop? You still
Well, of course you stop. I mean, we play. We go out for 2 weeks. South America, maybe it'll be 3 weeks, but that's all we do.
But with Jim, it was like, he would play the gig, okay, and then we would play the gig. Ray and John and I would go to sleep or go home or, hang out a little bit. He would have to go party. He'd have to find some people to go and cause some trouble with.
Went all night long, too.
All night long.
No,
and, he didn't like to sleep because it was a waste of time.
We go home. We're going to go home after we go to Mexico for 2 weeks and go home.
Jim used to say that, he said, you guys, man, this is just a job, but to me, it's my whole life. I never stop thinking about the group, He says, I'm always either writing songs or, remember when he said that?
No.
Well, he did.
I would have said that.
He wanted a bigger cut of the action, I think.
Yeah, that's why he was saying it.
How would Jim Morrison have reacted in this world of iPods and YouTube and internet and CDs everywhere?
He wasn't a techie kind of guy.
Yeah.
No. He would let somebody else
handle all that.
Yeah.
Was he a businessman?
He would never. He'd hate iPhones because he wouldn't want people to be able to get a hold of him.
Yeah.
Anytime.
He wrote with pen and paper, pencil and paper. He was a writer. He was a poet.
He was a
he would not text message. He was writing in a book. He was always writing poems. The guy wrote a lot of poetry. Wrote a lot of poetry in Paris, and someday I'm hoping that the Cursons will allow it to be published. It's all in the hands of Pamela's mother and father.
Sure.
So we're hoping that someday we'll be able to read Jim Morrison's poetry from Paris.
Did he have a savvy business mind at all?
Well, he said, let's split all the money 4 ways. That way we won't ever fight.
Oh, he
about
was
my
right about
song,
that.
your song,
Yeah.
my song. I want to do my song. I don't get to do my songs. Instead, it's like we just split. He said, it's only 4-way split.
It was a full partnership.
Yeah.
He was a savvy businessman, really. He was.
Let's take some calls. Let's go to our wild card line. You're on Coast to Coast with us. You're on with Ray Manzarek and Robby Krieger and Gary Patterson back there. Hi there.
How you doing? This is Jason from Phoenix.
Hey, Jason, go ahead with your question.
I just want to say thanks to Robby and Ray for great years of music with the Doors.
All right,
You're
40
welcome.
years this year.
You guys had a major impact on my life. Taught me how to think for myself. Put
Good.
it that
Thank
way.
you. Thank you for doing that, man.
You know, the years of hold up in my room and my stepfather going, when are you coming out? When are you coming out? That damn Jim Morrison again. I'm like, I'll be out in a minute.
Yeah.
My question is, and I've read some stuff, interviews that you did, Ray, pertaining to Cliff Morrison. What do you think about him?
I know nothing about him.
You know nothing about Cliff Morrison?
Well, I know he claims to be Jim Morrison's illegitimate son. I mean, that's all I know, What do I know? Who's the mother?
I'm not at liberty to say.
Whoa!
I'm
Are you Cliff?
no, I'm not Cliff.
Okay, but you're not at liberty to say who the mother is. You're not at liberty? Are you part of the cabal, of the Cliff Morrison cabal?
I wouldn't call myself that. No.
Okay,
I mean,
is he Jim Morrison's illegitimate son?
Do I believe that?
Yeah.
I cannot speak for anybody else, but do I?
Of course,
believe
you
that?
believe that.
It's possible. Anything is possible.
And yeah, anything is possible. I personally don't believe it. So
But
Well, you know what? I told Cliff years ago to get a DNA test, and then there would be no question about it.
Right. And even to this day, with everybody coming out of lives saying that they may or may not be his offspring, it has never been proven.
No, and you know what? My theory is that Jim was sterile, because you know what? If he wasn't sterile, there'd be 8 million
Jim
Morrison kids. I mean, come on, who? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
he was squirting
Oh, my
around all over the
God.
place.
And there
wasn't
were
he?
there were so many of these gals in those days who specialized in having kids by rock and rollers, and believe me, they all had
Yeah,
a
you might be
chance.
right about that, Robby.
My bet goes with Alan Los Angeles. Did you ever meet the kid that called himself Alan Los Angeles?
No.
Boy, he was blonde, but he sure did look like Jim. He just had a great Jim Morrison.
And did he
look.
no to be?
Yeah, but he didn't know who his mother was. He thought maybe it was Patricia Keneally or somebody, and I said, I don't think so. And, no, you're not, I said, look, you're such a good-looking guy. Why do the Jim Morrison, I'm his illegitimate son shtick? Just go ahead and write your own poetry and sing your songs. Look at you. You're so handsome.
They
Look in
all
the mirror.
they want the money, Raymond.
Well,
You know?
No, they want to.
they want to jump in without doing the
Yeah.
work. I'm his illegitimate son. Put me as a lead singer of the Doors. I don't think so.
Are the old songs still selling? They still out there?
They seem to be doing okay.
Royalties go on forever?
Yeah.
Royalties go on for the rest of my life and the rest of our kids' lives. That's for sure. Yeah, songs still sell, of course. Yeah,
That is something.
CDs are out there, man. The
Yeah.
CDs are available. and it's
because
available
of
for
the
download.
internet now,
Yeah.
they don't sell as well as
Yeah.
they used to. But
Who's your favorite group or artist, Robby?
my favorite group or artist, other than the Doors.
Other than the Doors.
Golly gee, that's a good question. I mean, I like jazz, jazz music, all the jazz guitar player, John Scofield, Larry Carlton, guys like that.
How about you, Ray?
Beck, Blur, Bjork, and the Chemical Brothers.
Uh-huh. One more call, then we'll take our break. Let's go to our West of the Rockies line. You're on the air. Hi there. Hello?
Well, so much for that.
Hello?
There you go. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hi. Good evening, man. This is Narcissa. I'm calling from Seattle, and this is a mind-blowing honor. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Ray Mundo, I just wanted to share that I loved the book, The Poet in Exile.
Hey, good for you.
And inside the front cover is a autograph of Robby from a NOM show that my husband got for me back in L.A.
Great.
So that's kind of cool. Cool. Fit in this book. And but anyhow, so I just want to.
Before you do that, let me get another. I have another book out. It's called Snake Moon. It's the story of a supernatural sexual attraction set in the American Civil War.
That sounds like a coast-to-coast
ghost
program,
story.
Ray. We'll be back in a moment.
Story.
Don't go away.
It's all bright and filled with pain, enclose me in your gentle rain. Love me two times, baby. Love me twice today. Love me two times, girl. I'm gone away. Love me two times, girl. One for tomorrow, one just for today. Love me two times. I'm gone away. Love me one time, do not speak. Love me one time, yeah, my knees got weak. Love me two times, girl. Love me all through the week. Love me two times, I'm gone away. Love me two times, I'm gone away. Ah, yeah!
To talk with George Noory, call the wildcard line at 818-501-4109. The first-time caller line is 818-501-4721. To talk to George toll-free from east of the Rockies, call 1-800-825-5033. From west of the Rockies toll-free, call 1-800-618-8255. International callers may reach George Noory by calling their in-country Sprint access number, pressing option 5, and dialing toll-free 1-800-893-0903. From the City of Angels, this is Coast to Coast AM with George Noory.
Well, thanks to Ray Manzarek. He's got an early plane flight tomorrow, so he has skedaddled. Robby Krieger, of course, the legendary Doors guitarist, is with us. Gary Patterson, and your phone calls. So we'll be back with all of that in just a moment on Coast to Coast AM. Hey, you might recall, remember about a year ago I told you about this incredible dream I had where I saw 3 tornadoes were zooming in on the Los Angeles area? It was really strange. Tonight, a tornado touched down near the Los Angeles area. Now that's weird.
Love me two times, baby. Love me twice today. Love me two times, girl. I'm gone away. Love me two times, girl. One for tomorrow, one just for today. Love me two times. I'm gone away. Love me one time, do not speak. Love me one time, yeah, my knees got weak. Love me two times, girl.
Noory. Call the Wildcard line at 818-501-4109. The first-time caller line is 818-501-4721. To talk to George toll-free from east of the Rockies, call 1-800-825-5033. From west of the Rockies toll-free, call 1-800-618-8255. International callers may reach George Noory by calling their in-country Sprint access number, pressing option 5, and dialing toll-free 1-800-893-0903. From the City of Angels, this is Coast to Coast AM with George Noory.
Well, thanks to Ray Manzarek. He's got an early plane flight tomorrow, so he has skedaddled. Robby Krieger, of course, the legendary Doors guitarist, is with us. Gary Patterson, and your phone calls. So we'll be back with all of that in just a moment on Coast to Coast AM. Hey, you might recall, remember about a year ago I told you about this incredible dream I had where I saw 3 tornadoes were zooming in on the Los Angeles area? It was really strange. Tonight, a tornado touched down near the Los Angeles area. Now that's weird. Robby, at any time, did Jim talk about faking his death or anything like that? Did he kid around like that?
No, not that I remember. But, like Ray said, if there was ever a guy that would do something like that...
He'd be the one.
Yeah, he loved to do stuff like that, In fact, my wife just told me a story the other day, Lynn. She was with Jim one day, and Jim was kind of courting her, as, taking her out and stuff. And meanwhile, he had a girlfriend that he lived with, Pam.
That's Jim, right?
Yeah. So he invites my wife, Lynn, over there. This is before she was my wife.
Right, of course.
And and she goes, well, who's this bitch, And he goes, wait a minute. So there's a big fight. And so Lynn storms out of the place. I never want to talk to you again, So what does Jim do? He runs after her. He goes, wait, don't leave. She doesn't mean anything to me, And then this car comes speeding down the street. Jim jumps onto the hood of this guy's car, like you see in the movie or something.
Yeah.
Scared the hell out of Lynn. And after that, she said, that was it. I knew he was nuts.
She started dating someone a little more stable. Huh?
I mean, he really could have been killed, doing something like that.
God. Did you ever see him get into fights with other people?
Oh, yeah.
He did that a lot. Huh?
Yeah. The funny thing about Jim was he used to like to get beat up.
He used to like to get beat up. He was a masochist.
That's what it seemed like to me. I remember one time we were eating dinner in some restaurant, and there was some jarheads sitting next to us, and we made some snide remarks, which was very stupid of us, actually. But so they kind of followed us out after we
as Marines should have.
Right.
I was in the Navy. I got to side with the Marines now, Robby.
And so one of them grabs Jim, and he's banging his head against the window, and Jim's got this smile on his face, and he's
like more
says,
pain.
He says, just call the police,
Amazing. Now, did the Marines know it was Morrison?
No, I mean, this is before we were anything.
Way before.
Yeah,
okay.
This was before and anybody knew who we were.
In that case, beat him up, right?
Yeah.
Robby, I've got a question. We were talking about...
He liked pain, it was kind of reality to him or something,
Unbelievable.
He wasn't a masochist by any means.
All right, go ahead, Gary.
Robby, I got a question. There's lots of stuff that's written by the Doors or about the Doors, and you guys are the original source, and you know this, but I remember reading somewhere that it was in 1967, maybe at the Winterland, and the source said that Jim had come up with an idea that maybe he should fake his death to sell records faster. Sort of like the Johnny Ace idea that sometimes dead rock stars sell records. What do you know of that? Is that true, or is that just...
Now, what did the Winterland have to do with this?
I have no idea. Something supposedly at the Winterland was when he approached the idea or whatever.
Who knows? He may have said something like that, but I'm sure he wasn't serious about it.
So if he called you tomorrow, you'd be in shock. Huh?
Yeah, I would think, I would say, what the hell did you wait 35 years for?
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
First-time caller line, you're on the air with us. Hi there. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Oh, hi. I'm Shannon Luharn from La Cañada. I'm only 16.
La Cañada.
Go ahead, hon.
Okay, well, this is for Robby. I just wanted to know how it was, like, knowing that you would never be able to, like, perform with Jim again, like, after you knew he died, he passed away.
Well, how do you think it was? It was terrible. It's like the worst thing that could have happened. When something like that happens, it's like your whole world is tipped on its end, So, I was like in a
shock.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
It's like a member of your family dying.
How long did you and the rest of the group not play again after the Morrison death?
Probably a year or so.
A year or so.
We had been working on some new songs when Jim was in Paris, so we expecting Jim to be back at some point.
Sure.
And so we said, well, look, we can either hide our heads in the sand and just never play again, or we can, we could still be the Doors. And we decided we would. So, we did go on for 2 more albums after Jim died. And there was some pretty damn good stuff on those records.
He would have loved being part of that.
Oh, yeah. We were writing stuff, expecting that he would be singing it.
Gary, next hour I want to talk with you about so many young performers and stars who have passed on. Lots of them, of course, abusing their lives, I guess. And they get your take on that, all right?
Sure, be wonderful.
Back to the phones we go. We'll go to our wild card line. You're on the air with us on Coast to Coast. Hi there.
Robby.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I saw you in Boise, Idaho. It's Rick from the big city, Boise, Idaho.
All right.
Man, I was front stage with my son.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he was into The Cure.
Oh, yeah.
So he knew the lead singer who is, help me?
Well, at that time it would be Ian Astbury, right?
Yeah, who played for you guys. My son you dropped your pick, and Ian hands the pick to my son. Was that too cool?
Must have been for your
I have
son,
a ticket I pinched from my sister. Well, I gave my eye teeth from your July 5th, 1968 Hollywood Bowl performance.
Oh, boy.
$4.50.
Yeah, so you still have that?
Yeah, I do, actually. Hey, I OD'd on 100 hits of Microdot my sophomore year of high school, 73, and I've been analyzing this song, The End, and I need help. I say the Snake, 7 miles, is the Strand in North Island.
Well, you know what? I never really asked Jim what does this mean, what does that mean in his songs, and because he wouldn't tell you anyway, but he what he says is stuff like that should mean different things to different people. And that's the cool thing about imagery like that is it does, you can take it any which way, and some people will take it to mean one thing, and the other will say the opposite. And that's what's great about poetry like that.
Robby, at what point did you and the rest of the members of the Doors pinch yourselves and go, "We are the Doors"? Did it ever hit you like that?
Oh, Lordy. Not really. Like I said, we always kind of thought of ourselves as being like an underground kind of group,
Yeah.
We never really got at like the Rolling Stones or something like that, in those days. Now, I wish Jim would still be here.
The notoriety now is incredible.
Yeah, today it's like the Beatles, Stones, and the Doors.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Jim would have loved that because that's how he wanted it to be. And, in those days, it was really like, who's the Doors, we walked down the street, nobody really, Jim, of course, would get recognized because of, people saw him on Ed Sullivan and stuff. But, we always thought of ourselves as being kind of underground and never quite breaking through, really, and that's kind of how we liked it.
Let's go next to our East of the Rockies line. You're on Coast to Coast with us. Hi there.
Hi, George. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Okay, Robby?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a fascination with palindromes, with numerical palindromes and alphabetical palindromes, and I know Jim had a fascination with anagrams.
Right.
Right. In fact, he anagrammed his own name in a few songs. You got a story about his anagrams?
Well, the one you're talking about, L.A. Woman, Mr. Mojo Rising, is, which spells Jim Morrison if you mix the letters up. Now, there's a question as to who came up with that idea. I think Jim did, but there's a gal named Patricia Keneally who, if you saw the Doors movie, she was the witch.
She was the witch.
The witch
the one who sliced his wrist and shared blood.
Yeah, they had a black marriage. And she claims that she thought of that idea, which is possible. You never know. But to me, that was something that Jim would have done because, he loved words and word games and stuff like that.
He liked her, didn't he?
Well, he did. She was a writer at the time, and she interviewed him, I'm not saying they actually got married or anything, but they did hang out for.
What did he at that time think of the Vietnam War during that period?
Oh, he couldn't stand it, like all of us. We all kind of, we were all draft dodgers in those days, and. We just, we wanted to do anything we could to stop it,
Yeah.
And we thought that music was the best way, and the only weapon we had, so that's all we could do.
It's interesting now, as different from Vietnam, is so many people chastise the young men and women who were troops then, and now, at least with the Iraq War, whether you're for this war or not, and most Americans are not, at least they respect the troops now, and they care about them.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The Doors were probably the most favorite band of all the Vietnam guys.
Troops. Really?
Yeah, at the time, and later. I've done many benefits for the vets since then, and they all tell me that. They all said, cool. Man, if it wasn't for your music, we wouldn't have got through that thing,
Yeah.
And yeah, they really loved it.
I'm trying to think if Robin Williams played any of your music in the Good Morning Vietnam movie. Remember that?
Oh,
I think he might have. Yeah,
I think he did. Yeah, he did. And in fact, if you saw Apocalypse Now,
Yeah.
Coppola had the rights to use all of our music in that movie. Unfortunately, he only used a couple of things, but there's one thing that you can see if you get the version of Apocalypse Now that's on DVD. There's a thing where they teach all these kids, these Vietnamese kids, how to sing "Light My Fire." It's very cool. Very cool.
You remember that, Gary?
Yeah, I know what he's talking about. Yeah, from the.
Yeah, if you get that Coppola, the DVD.
I love that.
And check that out.
And The End became a major hit again.
The End. To me, that was the most perfect marriage of film and music ever. When I saw that for the first time, I was at the big Cinerama Dome here in L.A.
Yeah.
And on comes the screen, Apocalypse Now. First thing you hear is my guitar.
That's it.
Playing The End, right? And then there goes the helicopter going by, and that blew my mind.
Rolling Stones magazine has you down as one of the legendary guitarists of all time. It's got to be a neat honor, huh?
That is. That's great.
Thrown in there with a group of people like Billy Gibbons and folks like that.
Yeah, that is quite impressive. As well as I'm the number 22 on the golfers list, Rolling Stone golf of all time.
West of the Rockies, you're up with us. Hi there.
Hi, George.
Hey.
And hi, Robby.
Hi, how you doing?
And where are you calling from?
Yuba City, California.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just wondering, whenever we were with Jim, did he ever talk about any, like, occult experiences or any of his Native American beliefs, or what was his belief?
He was very into into peyote ceremonies. You know, he loved anything to do with Indians, Hopi Indians, all that kind of stuff. And that's why he wanted to experience the LSD and peyote, psilocybin. It's because of the whole deal with the shaman, and the shaman would take the peyote, and then he would lead the whole troop of people on a trip. And that's basically what he did on stage. You know, he would lead the audience on this trip, and it was a very similar thing.
Okay, thank you for the call. Let's go next to our wild card line. You're on Coast to Coast with us. Hi there.
Hey, George.
Hi.
Robby, how you doing?
Hey, pretty good.
Great. I wanted to ask you. By the way, this is Andy from Venice, and
right up the street.
I wanted to ask you if you had ever had any dreams with Jim, and if he'd ever, whether or not it was him like communicating something to you that you used in your life, or just a really cool dream that had Jim in it, living with you like he'd been there all along.
I have Jim dreams I would say once every couple months I'll have a Jim dream, and that's the only guy in my whole life I can say that I had that experience about. Yeah, I mean, he was such an influence on my life and everything. It's obvious why I still dream about it. Well, the dream is always that he's still here and we're still singing and
still up there.
Yeah, exactly. He never left.
Do you believe in the hereafter, Robby?
I believe that it doesn't end, but the only unfortunate part is that I also believe that you don't get to remember where you were before, so what good is that?
Unless we can give you some past life regression hypnotism.
Exactly. But I definitely think that it doesn't just, that's it. It goes dark and the movie's over. I mean, what sense would that make?
Maybe there's a reincarnated Jim Morrison out there somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure I'll see him again at some point.
In another life or here?
Either or.
Maybe.
I hope on a different planet, man. This one's screwed up too much.
He would have loved listening to this program tonight.
Oh, he might be.
And he might be. Maybe he'll call in, huh? Wild card line, you're on the air with us. Hi there.
Hello?
Yeah, hi. Take it away.
Hi, this is Paul from Fairfax, Virginia.
Hey, Paul.
I met someone who said he was Robby's father many years ago, and he told a story about going into meetings with military generals. I guess he was a government worker or contractor, and describing how weird it was with his son being a famous rock star and against the war and things like that. I was curious if Robby could talk about that.
It could be true, Robby? What do you think?
Well, it's possible, but, by the time I was in the Doors, my dad had pretty much retired from that business, so I kind of doubt whether that guy was on the level. But my dad was an engineer. He designed jets and stuff and fighter planes. He was one of the designers of the first flying wing, and he's 90 years old a couple days ago.
God love him.
Go surfing out at Malibu, and I'd run into...
well, they came a little before you guys, right?
A little bit, yeah, a couple of years. And in fact, I was in high school when I first heard them. And, we used to see them quite often around Hollywood. I would see Bruce out at Malibu, and Jim used to hang out with the drummer Carl, I guess.
Carl Wilson.
Yeah. In fact, one day the two of them were driving down the street and they pick up a hitchhiker. Guess who it was?
Who?
Charlie Manson.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, they should have thrown him over the edge. That's something. Gary, we're picking up stories like crazy, Gary.
Oh, we are. This is great stuff. And, you can talk to Robby. I mean, there's so many things you can ask him. I know that he was talking about some of the imagery in Doors songs. I've always liked the story of the blue bus. I think I asked Robby that when we were talking on the phone. What do you think about the blue bus in the end?
Hold that, Robby. We're going to take this break. How long do you want to hang with us tonight? What do you think? It's your choice.
Only about 12:30.
You got it. We'll be back in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. what's in store for 2008. Read all about it in the January issue of the After Dark newsletter. Every year, we ask some of the most respected futurists and psychics to weigh in about what's on the horizon, including Gerald Celente, who's been amazing with his predictions about not only the economy and precious metals, but trends in society. Numerologist Glynis McCants will tell us about what 2008 means. It adds up to 10, which makes it a 1 year, and find out what's in store for us in terms of global warming, natural disasters, tax revolts, health care, and so much more. Don't miss out on this blockbuster edition of the After Dark newsletter. Call right now to reserve your copy toll-free at 1-888-727-5505. That's 1-888-727-5505. For only $39.95, you'll get 12 monthly issues, plus one extra issue for free. Sign up online at coasttocoastam.com. If you happen to hear something on the show last night or last week, did you know that all the guest information and show information is available online at www.coasttocoastam.com. Our webmaster Lex has posted everything right down to the bumper music. Also on the website is a service called Streamlink. Man, is this great. For about 15 cents a day, you can have access to live streaming audio no matter where you are, as long as you're close to a computer. You'll also get archived shows from the last 90 days, and you can hear the show on your computer anytime you wish. Plus, you'll have access to my Tuesday night chats. That's once a month. So get the inside story on the show and the inside story on what's going on with Coast to Coast AM. You simply log on to coasttocoastam.com. That's coasttocoastam.com, and you'll be glad you did. Streamlink, it's a great service. It's private. You even get a private email address directly to me. So just log on to coasttocoastam.com.
News. I'm Jim Chenevey. Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson says it's an economic stimulus package that will work.
We wanted to keep it simple, and that's where the focus is.
$150 billion worth, 100 of that in the form of rebate checks to taxpayers, most of it targeted at middle and low-income families. Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
I believe that the package that we are putting forth deserves the support of members of Congress, and we will bring it to the floor at the earliest date so that those rebate checks can be in the mail.
Correspondent Anthony Mason.
Hold on, the check's not in the mail yet. 116 million families would get tax rebates under the House plan.
I urge the House and the Senate to enact this economic growth agreement into law as soon as possible.
But even if Congress does act quickly, the IRS will be bogged down in April handling tax returns and probably couldn't begin to process the rebates till early May.
Those checks are expected to amount to as much as $1,800 for some families. The Republicans who would be president gathered in the Sunshine State last night for another debate.
I'm Peter King. Instead of attacking each other, the Republicans concentrated on one Democrat during the MSNBC debate. Rudy Giuliani saying when the polls were in favor of the war, so was Hillary Clinton.
And now when the polls are 6 out of 10 are against, Hillary Clinton is against the war.
Mitt Romney called Clinton arrogant and audacious for claiming the Democrats' call for withdrawal has helped progress in Iraq.
The success over there is due to the blood and the courage of our servicemen and women, and to General Petraeus and to President Bush, not to General Hillary Clinton.
Peter King, CBS News, Boca Raton.
Another Democrat has called it quits. Dennis Kucinich ending his campaign just days before the South Carolina Democratic primary. David Mark of Politico.com.
The threat to his House seat was a big factor in this. It's been clear for months, if not from day one, that he was not going to be the Democratic presidential nominee. What's strange is that didn't stop him before in 2004 from going all the way to convention. Then again, in 2004, he was very careful to not miss any votes. This time around, he's missed more than 300 in the House. I think that's really come back to hurt him with his constituents at home.
Defense Secretary Gates says he thought U-2 was an airplane.
My daughter nearly had an aneurysm when I told her who I was meeting with.
Gates met with lead singer Bono to discuss his concerns about AFRICOM, a new U.S. military command for Africa.
To be honest about it, he had read my speech at Kansas State and had liked a lot what it said about also strengthening the non-military side of the U.S. face abroad.
Gates says he was impressed with Bono and his commitment to fighting poverty. Rare tornado touchdown in Southern California. It caused damage at the Point Mugu Naval Air Station up the coast from Malibu. Southern California has been getting hammered by a nasty winter storm. It's also dumped heavy rain and snow on the region. This is CBS News.
When your power goes out, it's hard, especially if it's during a stormy night and you're left in pitch black. That's why it's important to get ready before the next storm and power failure. This is Bob from C. Crane. Like you, I've been through my share of power failures, and I know how frustrating it is to find dead batteries in your equipment. At C. Crane, we put together a special calamity kit that includes 3 high-quality, no battery needed, wind-up pieces of equipment. The first is a durable LED lantern, great for general lighting and safely moving about a room. A wind-up LED flashlight for finding the ladle and checking on the soup. And an AM/FM weather radio for NOAA updates and local news. The high-quality Calamity Kit is what you need to make dinner in the dark and keep informed of the news.
To learn more about preparing for disasters or to order your Calamity Kit for just $119.95, visit ccradio.com or give C. Crane a call at 800-522-8863. C. Crane, the high-performance radio and light company.
Couples who battle a lot may have a healthier relationship. Literally. Dave Barrett reports.
Couples at odds.
You can sit around with the gin running out of your mouth. You can humiliate me. You can tear me to pieces all night. That's perfectly okay. That's all right.
Those who argue.
You can stand it.
I cannot stand it.
They will live longer. University of Michigan experts say couples who suppress emotion are 2 times as likely to die compared to when at least one partner lets it all out.
We got married because we love each other, and there's not going to be any annulment.
Well, they've got 2 weeks to make up by Valentine's Day. Dave Barrett, CBS News.
In Honolulu, a grand jury has indicted 2 former golf club employees in the disappearance of a club member's dog. The German Shepherd Labrador mix named Caddy had been left tied up near a maintenance shed while its owner hit the links. The 2 employees, native islanders, later admitted they'd killed the dog and ate it. Jim Chenevey, CBS News.
talk with George Noory, call the wildcard line at area code 818-501-4109. The first-time caller line is area code 818-501-4721. To talk to George toll-free from east of the Rockies, call 1-800-825-5033. West of the Rockies, toll-free at 1-800-618-8255. International callers may reach George Noory by calling your in-country Sprint access number, pressing option 5, and dialing toll-free 800-893-0903. From the City of Angels, this is Coast to Coast AM with George Noory.
And with legendary Doors guitarist Robby Krieger, Gary Patterson, your phone calls back in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast. We're here with Robby Krieger, Gary Patterson. Robby's going to be with us for another 20 minutes or so. And Robby, I'm having a great time with you.
Me too. I've always wanted to be on your show.
You listen to Coast to Coast?
Sure, I've listened to it since the Art Bell days and since you took over, and it's one of my favorites.
Excellent. Hey, Gary, I'm going to sit back for just a couple minutes and listen to you, the music aficionado here, talk with Robby Krieger about some of the things that have been going on with the Doors and the music scene.
Oh, well, great. You know, first of all, when we talk about the Doors, and I know that Robby would agree with this, but when the British invasion came, a lot of American bands weren't prepared to take on the British bands. I mean, you still had Motown, you had Stax, you had records like that, the labels, but it seems like L.A. was the stronghold because you had groups like Buffalo Springfield, you had the Byrds, who were a major super band, but then when the Doors came, the Doors were unlike anything ever heard before or since. And, I mean, it was a perfect blend of incredible musicianship and Jim Morrison's lyrics, and that's what makes the band, you know, the innovators they are. And you haven't heard anyone who ever came up with a sound that the Doors had. That's why they readily should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which they are, and all the accolades they've received, even the Hollywood star on the famed walk.
Well, you know, it took a while for people to figure that out, you know, about 40 years, actually. You know, we just got our first Grammy this year. And that's why I say we always thought of ourselves as an underground band, because, you know, people were, I think we were ahead of our time, basically, quite a bit ahead of our time, and it's taken this long for people to figure it out, you know, but that's okay.
But, you know, that's a great work of art because it is figured out. Sometimes it takes years afterwards to realize how great it is at the time. Right. And, you know, that's how the Doors were. I mean, the music was incredible. And it was before really FM took over. And, you know, how was it when you heard Light My Fire when they cut out all the single version where they cut out the keyboard solo and the guitar solo and it just really chopped it up?
Yeah, we hated that. We hated that. You know, what happened was... you know, FM really hadn't started yet very much, but there was one FM station out in the valley here, and it was KBBQ. And there was a guy called Dave Diamond, and he had a show called Dave Diamond and the Diamond Mine. And he used to play Light My Fire, the long version, and he said he would just get millions of calls every time he played it, right? And he says, man, you guys are crazy. You should cut it down, you know, to 3 minutes and get it on AM, because in those days you had to get on AM radio in order to get a hit record, you know, because like I said, FM really wasn't happening yet. So we said, no, we don't want to do that, you know, you don't want to wreck the song. It's our favorite one, you know. And so after a while, we finally realized he was right, and we did cut it down, even though we hated it. But it did get on the AM radio, and the rest is history.
I got another question, too. I know a lot of the listeners probably saw this in the movie The Doors, but talk about the Ed Sullivan Show, because Ed Sullivan was really angry with you guys, wasn't he, at the end? I heard he didn't even shake hands with you after the show.
Well, you know, it really wasn't Ed himself that was mad. It was the producer, a guy named Bob Precht. Funny he had that name. He says, boys, you know, you can't say higher on TV. You know, babe, you can't get much higher. And you know, we said, that's ridiculous, you know. So Jim says, oh, okay, no problem, you know. And
you're live, right?
Yeah, well, it's live TV. And, you know, whether he just forgot, which I think he just forgot all about it. He didn't even give a crap because, you know, when you're on live TV in front of 8 million people, you're not thinking about what some producer just told you. And so, of course, he just said higher, and then the guy went crazy afterwards, and he'll never play Ed Sullivan again. We don't care.
What was it like, though? Was that a big hit for you to be on the Ed Sullivan Show? Like the next day? You know, he made the Beatles, right, Gary? At least in this country?
Yeah. He made the Beatles.
And Elvis? He made Elvis?
No, you know, and at that time, I think being on Ed Sullivan was kind of an afterthought. It already was number one on the charts and stuff like that. Yeah. You know, I don't think we really needed Ed Sullivan in order to make it or anything like that. It wasn't as big of a deal as Elvis was.
But, Robby, you got to remember the line they wanted you to put in the song. Girl, we couldn't get much better. I mean, that was it.
I could just see them shaking their heads, rolling their eyes.
Yeah, that was the best they could come up with, you know.
But I remember the Stones when the Ed Sullivan Show forced them to do Let's Spend the Night Together.
Yeah.
Let's spend some time together.
Right.
And if you watch Mick Jagger sing the song, every time he said, let's spend some time together, he'd roll his eyes.
Well, Regis in Kelly, right? What's her name? The Regis and Kelly show? Is that it?
Yeah.
Ringo Starr was just on it. They wanted him to cut his new song down, and he said, I can't, and he got up and left.
You're kidding. All right, we're fighting back. We're not going to let these people tell us what
Did
to
you
do.
travel at all, Robby, to different radio stations around the country when you were playing your songs?
Oh, yeah. We did quite a bit of radio.
Do you ever remember going to Windsor, Canada at all, CKLW?
I do remember Windsor, Canada. Yeah.
It had to be CKLW because that was a monster station at the time. And what's kind of ironic
is that near Toronto?
That's near Windsor, Canada.
Windsor?
It's right across the river
right
from
across
Detroit.
From Detroit. Yeah.
The funny thing is right now as we speak, you're on CKLW with this program.
Oh, wow.
And when I was younger, I wanted to get hired on the air there as a newscaster by a dear friend of mine who's dead now, Byron McGregor, who went on to record The Americans. That was written by Gordon Sinclair. And they wouldn't hire me because my voice wasn't deep enough at the time. So I'm on CKLW tonight, too.
Good.
It's an old reunion.
In fact, we were there. We did that show when we went up to do the Toronto Peace Festival back in 68 or 9. And that was an amazing show. That was, we come out from the airport. We're driving to the Peace Festival, and here comes like 200 Hell's Angels escorting us to the stage, And then John and Yoko went on first. Yoko did the entire show from inside a bag, which I thought was great because you couldn't see her. And then Little Richard went on, and Chuck Berry, and we went on after that. It was amazing. Great show.
Man, let's go to Wildcard Line. You're on the air. Hi.
Hi, this is Jim in Cleveland on WTAM.
Hey, Jim. Thanks.
Robby, I wanted to ask, it's great to speak to you. Thank you very much for doing this. I've always been curious if Danny Sugarman was, when he was little, was he actually friends with you guys, or was he just a little annoyance that was always hanging around?
Well, he was kind of an annoyance. I mean, he was a kid, and he was. I forget how he met us. I know. One of our promoter guys who promoted some shows with us was his umpire in his little league games. Rich Linnell, and Danny just loved the Doors for some reason, and he asked if he could come and work for us at our office. So he was the mail guy, fan mail guy, and later he became our manager.
Isn't that amazing?
Teenage success story. Yeah.
Sure is.
So he actually was a part of the life of the Doors. That's fascinating.
Oh, yeah, he grew into it.
Yeah, and he was kind of a kid that hung around the office, and Jim did kind of take a liking to him.
He went on to write a book about you guys.
Sure did. No One Here Gets Out Alive, which really kind of started the resurgence of the Doors back in the 80s.
Absolutely. Next up, let's go to our Wildcard Line. You're up on Coast to Coast. Hi there.
Hello.
Yeah, where are you calling from, sir?
Bradley, Illinois.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm known as the crazy man Marky W., former lead singer of Next to Nothing. And needless to say, I'm very, very nervous. It's a very well. It's all right. It's a very well documented case. It's been known here in this town for 3.5 years. I've talked to local author James Reardon, co-wrote the book "Break On Through: The Life and Death of Jim Morrison." I claim to be Jim Morrison reincarnated.
You claim to be?
You too?
Yes. Well.
No, why do you think you are?
Well, how do I encapsulate this? I'm 33 now. I just turned 33 3 days ago.
All right.
What does that mean?
In 1979...
Well, the timing's right, Robby.
In 1979, I was 4 years old, and I was in my aunt and uncle's basement. And Riders on the Storm came on, very old radio, and I looked at my cousin, Clancy, and I'm 4 years old. I don't know anything about the Doors.
Right.
I said to him, there's something really strangely familiar about this, and I can't put my finger on it. And up until I was 7 or 8 years old, I used to have this dream 2 to 3 times a week that I died in a bathtub. Over the last 5 years before my
All right.
Previous band before this band, Next to Nothing, had formed, that started dealing with dreams of being in court for hours. It's anytime, I don't mind the skepticism, but anytime somebody asks me, do you really believe that you're Jim Morrison reincarnated, I simply say this: it's hell to live with. It's not by choice.
Have you ever undergone hypnosis?
No, no.
We need to do that. To you. We get you in touch with.
Yeah, my guitar player, my drummer, my former bass player, my ex-fiance, my ex-girlfriend, my parents, my brother, they all know about it.
Do they all believe you?
I think to a certain extent. I've been taped on karaoke. By the way, one of the best karaoke DJs in the country is here in the Kankakee area, and I've taped myself on karaoke a little.
Do you sound like Jim Morrison when you sing?
I can. I'm one of the most gifted singers in America.
Well, Robby, what song?
He does say so.
What Morrison song could he just do a little a cappella on the phone here for you, just to give you an idea of what he sounds like?
All right, let's hear a little "People Are Strange."
Well, I'm mostly a tenor, but I can sing just about anything.
People are strange. You there?
Yeah.
That seems apropos at this time.
Do you know
People
the
are
words?
strange.
All right.
Here we go.
Down.
People are strange. Yeah. People are strange. When you're a stranger, faces look ugly. When you're alone, women seem wicked. When you're unwanted,
where's the gong, Bill?
Streets are uneven. When you're down.
All right, that's good. Now, Robby, what do you think? Does he sound a little like Jim at all?
Not really. Sorry, bud.
All right. He does
Next.
He does not. But he believes he's Jim Morrison.
That's fine.
Yeah. Who knows?
I mean, like he says, it's more of a hindrance rather than something good. I mean, who would want somebody invading your body? I mean, that's no fun.
Didn't Jim think that one of those Native Americans that he had witnessed as a little boy in that horrible car crash overtook his soul or something?
He did say that. He did say that, and I think he really believed that.
For the rest of his life, that's what he thinks happened.
Yeah.
Did you hear that too, Gary? Did you?
Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, it's on, Don's Highway, Robby?
Yeah, it's in the American Prayer thing. In fact, yeah, it is.
Let's go to our next caller, wildcard line. You're on the air. Hi there.
Hello.
Yes, hi, sir.
It's me.
Yes.
I've been saying hello for 3 times. Hello, gentlemen. It's a pleasure. Dennis from St. Louis.
Hey, Dennis.
Musician,
the
all
Arch.
that stuff. Many years ago, I saw the Cream, Jimi Hendrix, and the Doors. I went to see the Cream. I went to see Jimi Hendrix, and a girlfriend of mine said, well, let's go see the Doors. And you had an AM hit. And I went, I don't want to go see the Doors. But I went anyway. And wow, when I tell people this story, the 3 bands I saw, which one do you think I was impressed with?
I'll say the Doors.
Oh, bingo. And I'll tell you why. Guitar just blew me away after seeing the Cream and Jimi Hendrix.
All right.
Bass, left-hand bass,
left-hand
keyboard,
bass.
wow.
Where was the venue?
The band was great. Keel Auditorium. The biggest venue
the old Keel.
St. Louis. And I was up in the top way end, the other end, and the charisma. I've never seen anybody with that much charisma in my life. Wow. You could hear a pin drop.
Damn, I wish we had a tape of that show. I don't think we have that one.
Somebody's
It was
got
fantastic, guys.
I bet the Keel would have it.
It blew me away.
Well, that's
okay,
great.
thank you, Dennis.
Have you ever heard a tape of that show?
No,
a
never.
bootleg? All right.
No, I never have.
Well, if you do, call up the Doors office in L.A. and tell them we need that tape.
Got to get it. How many cities would you go to during those days? Did you hit all the big ones?
Oh yeah, most of them.
Yeah. So
you know, we didn't tour as much as a lot of bands, because Jim was just too hard to handle on the road. After a week or two,
he was too much for everybody.
Oh yeah, he just
he really never stopped.
Right, it was like one party from
boom, boom.
From the minute we left town.
Did you ever hear him laugh?
Oh,
just laugh hysterically.
Yeah. Sure, he had a great sense of humor.
Yeah,
he could be down also, but I'd say 80% of the time he was joking around and having a great time.
Oh, Gary, was he a trickster, a prankster? What do you think, Rob?
He was that, for sure. He loved to do stuff like that. Like one time I remember he'd given this guy acid, right? And the guy started coming under the acid, and all of a sudden he starts turning on the light switch off and on real fast, see what the guy would do. Stuff like that.
Oh, man. Gary Patterson, what are you going to do with us a little bit later on? What are we going to talk about?
Oh, we've got plenty to talk about. And, it's just fascinating to have Robby on the show, and Ray, too, and give callers a chance to talk to these legends of rock who know the story. And I know one thing that always impressed me about Jim Morrison, and Robby can probably confirm this, too, but you know how, like in the Temptations, it was David Ruffin and the Temptations, but Jim would never take top billing. And I heard that at one show they introduced the band as Jim Morrison and the Doors, and Jim said that he wouldn't go on stage until they just announced the group as the Doors. Is that true, Robby?
No. All he did was he said, "No, it's the Doors."
Right.
The guy said, "Jim Morrison and the Doors." No, it's the Doors.
The Doors.
And I think that says a lot about his love for the band.
Robby, can we put this to rest once and for all then? Jim Morrison is dead.
I'm afraid so. You know why I say that? Because I know Jim, and if he was not dead, he would be on stage somewhere.
Yeah, he couldn't turn it off.
Right, and he'd have to be with us because, we were the best with him. There's no way he would give that up,
And you think he died of, he just abused his body? Something like that?
You know what? I think, in reality, he had something wrong with him, possibly.
Physically?
Yeah, like some condition. In fact, I've talked to his doctor, and he wouldn't say because he said it was a private matter, but I think he might have had some lung condition. I remember he was coughing up blood and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, before he left for Paris. And I think, exactly. I mean, that's what I would do.
And
maybe that's why he was like that.
That is amazing. Robby has a website, Robby Krieger, KRIEGER.com. You're working on another project?
I'm working on a new album, instrumental stuff so far, and also working on a book, a new
so we get to have you back on again.
Sure, yeah. And also, I've got a new guitar coming out from Gibson, so I think all those three things hopefully will come